Live.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, everyone. Once again, Wednesday night. Always on Wednesday night, we have a chance to chat sports with you on the Fightnwords Network, and our normal guests are in place. We were just chatting a minute ago with Roy Cummings, who's down there in Tampa, Florida, in the sunshine. We're up here in the north, at least I am, 5 inches of snow outside of my house. But other than that, Roger is in Atlanta, and we've got a great group of guests tonight, all different sports that we'll be talking about, and we'll get to it very, very quickly. Our executive producer, Frank Carroll, has something he wants to start the show off with. So, Frank, give it to us, and then we'll go to sports.
Okay, before we start anything, I just want everybody up north not to worry about us. We did have a cold snap. I think it went down to either 69 or 70 yesterday. But we have our muckluck, so we're fine. Tonight's program is dedicated to a wonderful guy. He was a Philadelphia Highway Patrol officer, Tommy Chen. Tommy was doing a traffic stop on I-95 5 years ago, and a tractor trailer hit him, and he finally succumbed to his injuries last week. So the funeral was yesterday at the Cathedral of St. Peter and Paul. To his family and all my brothers and sisters in the 28,000 members of the Philadelphia Police Department, we've sent our deepest regrets and hope that this is the last. Also, we wanted to say this is the last program we'll be doing for the year. I want to thank all our staff because they do a great job every week. I want to thank you, the listeners, for listening and helping us get this thing to grow, and it keeps growing each week. And for that, I want to say there's an old Irish saying, may your days be filled with happiness. May your pockets be filled with coin. May your home be filled with joy. Until we meet again, may the good Lord keep you and your family always in the palm of his hands.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Well, absolutely, and that'll be in 26 rather than 25 as we look forward to the turning of the page. We'll find out more about that tonight at 9 o'clock when the president comes on to tell us about the economy and all the other things that are happening right now that are in peril. So, boy, what a weekend we had with unfortunate shootings and killings of people. It's just incredible. This Christmas season is not going to be a happy one for a lot of people this year.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see if we can lighten it up a little bit with the world of sports. And we'll go, first of all, to Tampa, Florida. And one thing I want to touch on, which is a little bit off the scene, we really haven't talked about it at any time. And one is the fact that what's happening with tickets right now. Everybody thinks that Las Vegas is the landing point for everything. Well, Las Vegas is announcing that maybe they're not too interested in having the NBA come back with their Cup Series. Ticket sales were terrible. They had to give away so many free tickets just to make it look like people were there. And it was a very, very disheartening situation. And also, the New York Post headline today, the World Cup games, they are now reducing the tickets in certain areas to just $60 because no tickets are selling. And they're very concerned about that. Gentlemen, do you think that we maybe have reached a point in the world of sports where people are saying, hey, wait a minute, we don't have money for these non-existent sports? Roy, we'll start with you.
Well, I think with the NBA Cup, it's a bit of a gimmick, and at first, and with most gimmicks, they're interesting at first, they're worth a look. But then at the end of the day, maybe it's, you realize it's not that great of a deal. And look, I think NBA attendance has been kind of on the, I don't know that the attendance has been on the wane, but I know that television ratings are kind of down. And look, I mean, you kind of alluded to it. The president's going to speak tonight. I assume he's going to speak on the economy at some point, which he thinks is going great. But at the end of the day, prices are going up everywhere, and people are being a little bit more, thoughtful about, how they're spending their discretionary money. I mean, maybe the sports tickets just, get pushed aside as, just like a dinner out or or a night out, with fellas or whatever. It just, I think that that might have something to do with it. I don't know. If you're talking, you mentioned Cup. Is it World Cup soccer tickets? You say are down to $50? I don't know where that is.
No, the what is the FIFA? What is it? The World Tournament is coming to New York, all over the United States, but
the soccer tournament, the World
Cup soccer tournament. They've lowered the prices down because tickets aren't selling, and they now headlined to the Post today that they dropped the prices for certain down to $60, which is really a little unbelievable when you talk about the price of tickets at almost every sport.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, they're playing these games obviously in really big stadiums, and some of the tickets. I mean, if you go to Raymond James Stadium here in Tampa for a World Cup game, you're not going to have one here. But if you were to have one here, and you're up in the nosebleeds, well, it's hard to imagine spending $1,500 for a ticket for that. So that might have something to do with it, but it's the basic supply and demand situation, I think. So it could have a lot to do with that.
Roger?
Well, I think a couple of factors. One of the points that you made, Don, about the tragic weekend we just had from the shootings, and not all of them, and also the tragic Hanukkah shooting in Australia at the beach. Well, there are 15 people killed and 80 some, I think, injured. This has got people very nervous. Okay. They were talking about canceling a number of events, and some have been canceled in the States coming up because they are very concerned about security. One of them that they're concerned about is in New York, where, what do they get, 800,000 people for the New Year, New Year's Eve. And but I think that it can be the economy. I, for one, will be very happy when the new year gets here with all these improvements in the tax code for seniors, and also for on tips and things like that for servers. But the other thing is, on the NBA, I think people don't trust the NBA. Many don't, because you don't know if the guy that you're going to go to see and pay the big bucks, is he going to play? And that's what the uncertainty is. But I think if you look at the NHL, they're doing well. I mean, the Flyers had a special that they sent me about tickets to games, but they're playing well, and the Sixers are playing well. But I really think overall in the NBA, and I think that's it. And I think the uncertainty of next year for the World Cup, and yet I was talking to Mike Simzak, because one of the teachers that I see regularly, she already paid her down payment on season tickets for the Atlanta women's professional soccer team that will be here in 2 years. So I think you get the hardcore fans, they're going to pay and they're going to go to see it. But I do think that there's a lot of suspect, especially about the NBA, and also about a year from now, rather than right now. And the Olympics is coming up too.
Yeah, guys, let me. The NBA stuff, I think, is a valid question, but let me put into perspective what the situation is with the World Cup. Not sure what article you read there, Don. Not sure what the New York Post wrote, but here's what has happened. In response to a major backlash against
I got on mute. What do you want?
$4,185, per person per ticket for games in North America for the World Cup. FIFA has decided to make available for every game played in North America during the World Cup next year several hundred, not 1,000, but several hundred tickets that are $60 each.
Correct.
And they will be available through the national federation of the teams that are playing. So what will probably happen is if you've got a game, for example, Haiti is in the tournament. If Haiti is playing Paraguay, I don't know the group, so I apologize for, but for an example, if Haiti is playing Paraguay or those two teams are playing somewhere, tickets will be available through the national federations of those countries playing in those games for $60. And again, it will be the tickets available at $60 will be in the hundreds, not the thousands. So you're talking about, probably, it could be up to 1,000 tickets, it could be up, 800, 900 tickets, which is great. But in a venue that's holding 45,000 people, it's not much. But what they're doing is they're making it available to someone so that, people who can't afford $4,000 a ticket can get some tickets. So, I think it's a wise move by FIFA. I think it makes some sense. Makes a lot of sense, really. It'd be nice if they made more tickets available or had a some kind of a schedule or a scale. I mean, I've got to believe that $4,000 tickets have got to be prime seating, whereas if you're in the upper deck, you're probably not paying that amount. But if you're paying $4,100 for a ticket, now you can at least have the opportunity to pay $60 for a ticket, which again is good. And look, it won't surprise me at all, guys, if some of the games they're playing the World Cup here in the United States are not sold out. I don't think a lot of them will. Olympic events are not always completely sold out. You can usually find tickets, and we're in an Olympic year, so you're coming right off the heels of a Winter Olympics in Milan, Italy, and 3 months later, or 4 months later, you're going to be playing the World Cup. So again, and look, inflation is up around the globe, and prices are certainly up here in the United States for just basic stuff. So I'm sure people are being just a little bit smart about how they're spending money, but this is a good move by FIFA to make the tickets available for people who can't afford $4,100. I'll tell you this: as much as I would love to go to a World Cup game, it's not worth $4,100 a ticket for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's $100. No, I couldn't agree with you more. I think your point is well taken, Roy, but I also think that this is just the handwriting on the wall. I think what happened in Vegas now, which they thought was a gold mine for the NBA for this Cup Series, this make-believe tournament that they have, and the Madison Square Garden already announced that we were going to put any banners up honoring the New York Knicks for winning this thing, and they're saying they're possibly, they haven't said definitely, but possibly it's going to be moved out of Vegas because they're just showing no interest in either going to the games or to pay the price. So I think this is just the handwriting on the wall on some of the side ventures that's happening in the world of sports that aren't going to get the money as quickly as they think they're going to. That's just my point in the whole thing. But I think the tide is beginning to change. I may be wrong, but I think so.
No, I think you're right. I think one of the roots of that problem with the NBA is that there isn't really right now a global superstar that everybody says, oh, I got to go see that guy. Obviously, I mean, you had LeBron James for a while. Well, LeBron James is, like he's playing 12, 14 minutes a game now, maybe a little bit more, but he's certainly not the player he was 3 years ago, much less 5 or 6 years ago. So that's part of the issue there, I think. The greatest players in the game are from other countries. People might have a hard time, associating with them in some way. The other superstars are, again, they're aging. Kevin Durant, I mean, come on, we've seen that movie before. It's all really kind of tired. It's a one superstar per team league, and that's the guy. It's almost like, in a way, the NFL. I mean, if you don't have a good quarterback, you can't win. And if you don't have a great, one great player, I mean, Steph Curry. I mean, okay, we've seen it. Everybody's seen Steph Curry. We've seen his best. I think there's going to have to be a new generation of players coming into the NBA for for fans to get really excited about it again. And that could be part of the issue. And again, when you play a tournament like the World Cup or the NBA Cup in a venue that, where you don't have a team, Las Vegas, I mean, okay, again, it's like, if I'm in Vegas, I don't think I'm going to an NBA basketball game, guys. On the list of things to do in Vegas, that's about, it's way down on the list for me. I can tell you that. And I'm sure it's on the low down on the list for everybody. And I think it was proven out through the poor attendance that they had.
And you can go to see a good hockey team.
Yes, that's one of the things that would be well above going to an NBA game in Vegas, But I mean, look, guys, aside from the gambling and the shows alone, there's just a lot of things to do in Vegas, and I'm not sure that going to an NBA game that really doesn't mean anything is high on the list.
Well, let's switch our attention back to the world of sports and what's happening this weekend. And Roger, will start off with you this week because the South now is going to be a close battle coming down to the last 3 games of the season. The Falcons have what could be an easy win this week. They're a 2.5-point favorite over the Cardinals. And we'll talk about the Bucs and where they stand right now with Roy in just a second. But the Falcons may not be the team to worry about in the South.
Well, they're out of it, and they could be the spoiler. And, I think that Roy can talk about the Bucs. I just wanted to get back just for a second about attendance. One of the things that I've noticed, and Don, you and I talked about this at the, LaSalle game
right.
last week or the week before. Lack of attendance. And I really... LaSalle Villanova, exactly. And, what is UConn men are, ranked fifth, I think. And I have seen a number of their games because I'm a big UConn fan, men and women, obviously. And you don't see packed houses even at Mohegan Sun, okay, or at the stadium at UConn. So, I mean, I think that tells you something, too, when school is still in and you don't see packed houses for good college basketball. But anyway, get back to the NFL. I'm anxious to hear Roy's assessment about the Bucs and what's going to happen because they have really surprised me in the last few games.
Roy? Yeah, I guess they surprised some people, but they're not. It doesn't really surprise me. Look, I don't want to say that this team's been a house of cards all along, but there's two things the Buccaneers don't do well, and there's the two most critical things you have to do to win in the NFL, and that's pressure the quarterback and protect the quarterback. They can do neither, and it's kind of been that way all year. Certainly, we've known about the inability to pressure the quarterback. We're going on, 2, 3, 4 years for that. Haven't been able to do that. They're very vulnerable to a smart quarterback, like a Cousins who obviously picked them apart in a victory for Atlanta, and even a young quarterback like the kid in New Orleans who picked them apart and beat them recently. So. Defensively, they've always been vulnerable to the pass. They play this soft zone defense. If you're smart enough and willing to just take what the defense gives you, they'll give you a lot. And that's a big problem. And, the offense has obviously struggled with injuries. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is they really cannot protect the quarterback very well. And if you can't protect Baker Mayfield and get to a clean pocket, well, let's face it, he's not one of the bigger quarterbacks in the NFL. He's not one of the taller guys. He's going to struggle to find receivers, find them open. And that's proving to be a problem, too. So they're having trouble throwing the ball, moving it downfield. They can still run the ball, probably as well as any team in the league. They've got, 3 really good running backs. But the game plans have been a little bit spotty, and play has been a little bit spotty because they can't protect the quarterback and can't get to the quarterback. So that's a real problem here, and it's good. It's possible I still think they'll win the division. I still think they'll find a way to beat Carolina at least once and finish this thing off. But again, it looks like if they even get to the playoffs, it won't surprise me at all if they're a one and done again. And then I think you got to start wondering about Todd Bowles. And look, the Bucks have been picking, as I mentioned many times before, they've been picking in the bottom third of the draft pool. From anywhere from 19th to mid 20s, late 20s in the draft, and it's hard to find dynamic starters there, especially when you're looking for edge rushers, pass rushers and pass protectors. So it's been a little bit difficult for them to find some of the pieces they really need, but it's very evident now that what they need is a little bit more speed up front defensively and a little bit more bulk up front offensively. If they don't get that, they may find themselves being passed by Carolina, and it may happen here in the next 2-3 weeks, by the way.
I was going to say Carolina, rather than the Falcons that were being talked about all year. It's really Carolina that's come on, but right now they're a 3-point favorite over the Panthers this weekend, and they're in a situation that looked like the Bucks were really in the driver's seat with at least a 2-game lead through most of the season coming up the last weekend, and now they're in a situation where they just have to win. And Roger, having to win sometimes is tough to do.
Well, it is, and a couple of sad occurrences in the NBA was Patrick Mahomes going down and
Right
with the ACL tear, and it's real. I think the Chiefs' tenure, I think, is over, at least for a short term, until they rebuild. And Roy, you were saying about the Bucks have been high and low on the number as far or high on the number, but that low on the picking order at the draft and the build. And I think it's really taken its toll on the Chiefs because of being up high so long.
Yeah, I think you're right. Look, the Chiefs have obviously struggled. They've had some injuries too. That's been a problem. Long before Patrick Mahomes was down with the knee injury, as you said. But yeah, they've had some issues, and they can't protect the passer either. I mean, if you really
3 offensive linemen went down. Three of them. Are,
right. Yeah, and that's a real problem for them. I mean, again, Patrick Mahomes needs to be able to at least find somebody open. But he's scrambling all day long. He's having to throw under duress, and any quarterback put in that situation is going to fail more often than he succeeds. And so that's exactly what's happened in Kansas City. The defense has always been, adequate, at least a little bit better than that. But not superior to anybody else, really. But strong enough to win. But they've won with dynamic play from the offensive side of the ball, and they just can't get it now because they really can't get anything going. They can't get a running game going. They can't get the passing game going, and again, it all boils down to the inability of the offensive line to either create holes for the running backs or create time and space for the quarterback to make plays. So again, you hear it so often in the NFL more than any other sport. It's not rocket science. Well, it isn't. And again, I've said it before. As much as coaches try to make it rocket science with their play calls and these 19-word play names to plays and things like that, it really just comes down to two things. Winning in the trenches. And if you can win in the trenches, you can win consistently in this league. But if you can't, you're going to lose. And we're seeing it happen in Tampa. We're seeing it happen in Kansas City, and obviously a couple other places too. So it's been a bit of an issue with the Eagles as well. So these are the basics, and if you can't play the basics, well, you can't expect to do much on a consistent basis.
Well, you're right about that. The Eagles came back against a dreadful team on Sunday. What just an awful game. I mean, couldn't stand too long watching that one, but We talked a little bit all the way through the show, Roy, last week, not only in your segment, the first half hour, but through the show talking about Pittsburgh and had their coach stay there too long. Well, he wins again the other night, and now it's going to come down to Baltimore and Pittsburgh again. And Roger, somehow he finds a way to have a winning record.
Well, yeah, there's all this speculation that he lost the locker room and everything,
right?
And and that he was going to possibly wind up at the as the Jets head coach. But when you're a good coach and the players respect you and like you, you're going to do a good job. And I'm a Mike Tomlin fan. I think he just does a great job. He addresses issues. He's not afraid to talk about the team. And I think as long as Aaron Rodgers can produce, you're going to be in games. And if they don't have any injuries to speak of long term, I think that they'll probably win the NFC Central or AFC Central.
Roy, what do you think about the coaching situation here? The number, what is it, 18 years now he's been there?
Yeah, 18 years, and the reports of Mike Tomlin's demise and that of the Pittsburgh Steelers is greatly exaggerated.
Premature.
Yeah, very premature. And look, everybody looked at it like, okay, it's a bit of a Hail Mary pass. You don't have you've never addressed, the quarterback situation really since Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, you tried, but and they did. I mean, they went out and tried to get, they tried Trubisky and they tried a couple others, and it just didn't work out. And so you go with Aaron Rodgers. Well, it looks like a Hail Mary pass. Well, at the end of the day, all you really needed was Aaron Rodgers to play, at a decent level. He didn't have to be a star, but just play at a decent level. Just give him an opportunity to make some plays. That's what's happened. He's still a good quarterback. Bottom line is, if he's healthy, he's still a good quarterback. He may not be able to do some of the things that made him special back, 5-8 years ago. He's not going to run for too many first downs anymore. He's not going to scramble as much as he did. He's not going to, make many throws on the run. But at the end of the day, he's still going to make the throws if he's got time to make them. And that's what they've done. They've given him an opportunity to make plays. And when that happens, you can win. And look, it's not like it's a soft division. Obviously, it's it's still a tough division, and it just goes to show that if you just go out there and play the schedule, just take it week by week. A lot of times, you just play smart football. Beat the teams you're supposed to beat, and win a couple others. You can be in the mix at the end. And you know what? I don't think he's getting much fanfare for it. He's probably not going to win it, but I think Aaron Rodgers deserves some MVP votes. Because let's face it, he's put that team in contention for a pretty good playoff run here. We'll see if it happens, but right now the chances are as good as any. And I think the noise about Mike Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers, they put a muffle on that. That's for sure.
Well, the Eagles coming up out of the Commodores. They've got them 2 weeks out of the next three, the last game of the season as well. And of course, the Packers are going to be playing the Bears in the second game, which should be a great doubleheader on Saturday. The Thursday night game would be a terrific game, but that game is going to be on Prime. So,
Hey, Douglas, how you doing?
Hey, Frank, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm going to put you live with the guys.
Okay, very good. Hey, Hawks will lose with it, but what they're not going to be with me watching. Roger?
I do want to say, one thing. We got to talk about Phillip Rivers and the job that he did coming after coaching his high school team to, I think it was the finals of the state championship for their group, and coming in and playing a pretty good game for a guy 44 years old and a grandfather. And I was thinking about this, it just seems like yesterday I was at the draft in New York, and he was drafted by the Giants, and Eli was drafted by San Diego. It was at the Marriott Marquis, as I recall. And boy, I'll tell you what, all hell broke loose because Eli was not going to play for San Diego. He wanted the notoriety of a major market. Not that San Diego isn't, but New York was a lot different. And all of a sudden, this big trade takes effect. And here we are all these years later, and that's got to be, 22, 24 years ago. And a career that both had. But I just think it was, he had a tremendous performance for a guy just coming off the high school field.
Oldest player by 2 years. 42 is the oldest, I think, prior to his Rivers doing this last weekend. And scored the first touchdown of the game. And a little flat pass out on the left side went for a touchdown. And they were ahead. It was a close game. Only lost by 2 points. And
Yeah,
so he had a
that
pretty
was
good.
at the end.
Yeah, he had a pretty good run there. Roy?
Yeah, I mean, we are amazed in this day and age when, teams, sports all around. I mean, they seem to be, the players are getting younger. It's not like, we didn't see this, in the past, but it just seems like more often than not, I mean, teams are going to the younger players. They're faster. Anytime it's the same way in golf. I mean, when Tiger came back at his age and after the injuries he faced, it was remarkable. And I remember when Nicklaus won late in his career, we just, marvel at these things because, let's face it, sports are young players' games, and at this level anyway. And so when a player like Philip Rivers comes back, it's always something to appreciate and to celebrate. But also, it just goes to show that, when you've been at it as long as a guy like Philip Rivers has, and now you're coaching kids at it, it doesn't take much for it to come back. You come back and you get the feel pretty quickly. And, again, if you can protect the quarterback, give him an opportunity to make some throws, you're probably going to see him succeed. You know what? It makes you think that a guy like, we saw Tom Brady do it. So it just makes you think that a guy like, we're celebrating this week, we just talked about it. We talked about Patrick Mahomes, obviously, but the other 2 quarterbacks we're talking about today are Philip Rivers, and we're talking about Aaron Rodgers, who were,
40 years old.
Yeah. 40 years old. So, who's to say that guys can't continue to play at a high level and at what seems to be an advanced age for these sports? But still, at the end of the day, it's great to see because, it just tells you, hey, you're never too old. You can do anything you want if you're,
if you stay in condition.
Yeah,
stay in condition, right?
And both mentally and physically. I mean,
right.
Let's face it. He didn't just go out there and play like he didn't know what the plays were. And he's obviously been staying sharp mentally as well in terms of knowing play calls and watching film and things like that. I'm sure he's probably doing it as it's just a hobby now, but it's paying off.
Well, we only 2 minutes left, Roy, and we just want to touch on as we look forward to going into 26. What do you look at as the biggest move in baseball? What has to happen at 26 to get teams reorganized?
Well, I think the biggest thing we're going to see happen in 2026, and I think the biggest move in baseball is going to be wherever Tarek Skubal ends up, whether it's in Detroit with the Dodgers. We've heard a lot of talk about Detroit, listening to offers. We're through the winter meetings now. I'm sure if Detroit has any serious interest about moving Tarek Skubal, they're in those conversations now, and we'll see what happens over the course of the next couple of months. But you're talking about a potentially generational, starting pitcher, that kind of caliber. And if he stays in Detroit, you can see Detroit rise up again. If he goes to LA, you can see LA right there in the mix once again. As much as people seem to be tired of seeing him, you're going to continue to see him. But can the Mets get things right? They've obviously restructured that team a little bit, so we'll see what happens there. Same with the Yankees. That'll be where the focus is. It'll be on the teams basically that have been in focus over the last couple of years, but there'll be a little bit more now depending on what happens with Tarek Skubal. I think that's the biggest domino to fall next in baseball.
I would agree with that. I think he's the talking point, and if they decide to keep him, they're going to be in the running again in the playoffs. If they decide not to keep him, they're going to have to struggle. And whatever team gets him, it's going to be a big punch for them. Guy that wins the Cy Young Award a couple of years ago can really help your club. Pitching is the name of the game, and he's the best pitcher right now, on the home front. Roger, I think the Mets and the Yankees both have the Mets. I don't understand what they've done. To me, if the season started tomorrow, I can't see them winning anything.
Yeah, well, I agree. I mean, as of right now, but only time will tell. Obviously, if Phillies signed Schwarber to a good contract, he's happy, the team's happy, and Roy, we're talking about when we talked to Larry Boa about the Phillies signing this player. Don and I were not, and Frank, we're not familiar with this player, Garcia. And he got a $10 million contract.
Well, let me tell you something, guys. Adolis Garcia is one of those players St. Louis Cardinals somehow let slip away, right along with Randy Arozarena. A couple of years ago, Adolis Garcia was a 40 home run hitter in Texas. He was an all-star. He was in the home run derby. And that is a guy who can he's coming off a difficult season. He did not match the numbers this past season that he had before, but that kid can play. He's he's a plus outfielder, plus arm, and he has got power, to give away. He is just, he's I don't know that he can hit, the number that Schwarber can hit, but he can certainly, he's a 30 homer guy for sure. He should be at least, possibly a 40 homer guy.
Especially in that ballpark.
Yeah, exactly. In that ballpark, and in just around the National League. I mean, because when you go to Wrigley, depending on what the day is, if you go to Cincinnati, which is a home run haven, those kind of ballparks are going to favor him immensely because Texas a little bit bigger dimensions, but at the end of the day, he can hit. That kid can hit, and you are going to be really happy as Phillies fans with Adolis Garcia. Take a look at him, and you'll see that this kid's all-star caliber.
Well, as we turn the page, you go to 26. We'll refresh this conversation and talk about it. We're not going to be on the next couple of weeks because of the holiday. So to you and your family, as we said at the top of the show, Roy, very best of Christmases and New Year, and we'll look forward to 26.
And I am too, guys. Thanks for having me as always. It's been a great year. It's been fun, and already looking forward to next year and starting it up again.
Roger?
Be safe, Roy. Be safe. Happy New Year and Merry Christmas to your whole family and you.
Thanks, guys. Absolutely. Now we're going to switch over and let's talk a little bit about football because we got a young man that I worked with for a number of years down in the Florida area. And that, of course, is Doug Miles. Doug is lives in the Florida,
Sarasota,
East Coast of Florida, and covers most of what's going on down there with an attendant at the University of South Florida, as well as graduating from there, as well as working in New York for many, many years. And Doug, nice to have you with us. But first of all, let's talk about the University of South Florida, the coach that left and the coach that is coming in. Let's talk about first the coach that left.
Yeah, hi guys, good to talk to you again. And Alex Golish, who really was the name was kind of bandied about really in the middle of the season after really earlier in the season when USF had those two great wins to begin the year against Boise State and Florida. His name started to be put out there as going to Power 4 school, and of course that's kind of what happened. The USF had a pretty good season, although they came up a little bit short. They had a chance if they had beaten Navy to possibly get in the American Athletic Conference Championship game, and who knows what would have happened there, maybe a playoff spot, who knows. But they came up short there, but he still got a great job. Auburn. Arkansas was the school that was thought to be after him, but Auburn winds up getting Alex Golish, and he makes the big money now. So we'll see how he does.
Well, you got a couple of bowl games in your area you're going to get a chance to cover, but let's talk about the new coach coming in as well as the coach that went out.
Yeah, Brian Hartline was the hire for USF. They made a big deal of it. I guess all the schools do that when they hire a new coach. But USF really went over the top. They had a big press conference, obviously, and an introduction, and they had the band there, and the GM of the USF made a big speech and said this was a home run hire, and who knows, it might be. It's kind of similar to Golish in a sense. Golish was an offensive coordinator coach with Tennessee and had been a head coach before. Now Hartline, same thing with him with Ohio State. Of course, he played in the NFL. He was a wide receiver with Miami, and apparently has good recruiting ties here in Florida. But he's coming in again, another coach with no head coaching experience. But of course, he's going to continue with Ohio State through however far they make it into the playoffs. Since he's an assistant, I guess he can do that. If there's a head coach like Lane Kiffin, I guess they would have said no. But, yeah, it looks good on paper. You know, like Alex Golish looked good on paper, and he delivered pretty well. We'll see what happens. You know, again, a coach with no head coach experience, see what kind of staff he can put together. And, again, it's kind of starting over for USF again because looking like Alex Golish, if he had stayed, they might have had a chance to continue to build. And, of course, they have the new stadium coming up, not next year, but the following year on campus. So, again, USF fans, you know, they get to a certain point, and the bowl is kind of still a stepping stone job, not a destination job yet.
Roger, Doug didn't or aren't South Florida and Old Dominion playing in a bowl game as we speak, or a little earlier?
As we're talking right now, Old Dominion with a 14-10 lead, 4:20 left in the third quarter over at the Camping World Bowl, Camping World Stadium in Orlando. Of course, the quarterback for the Bulls, Byron Brown, who had a tremendous season, really a great season. They decided mutually, they said between the coaches and himself, not to play in the game. So they have the backup quarterback playing for the Bulls. Byron Brown hasn't announced yet if he's going to go to the portal, perhaps turn pro. He does have 1 year left of eligibility, but he's on the sidelines helping out the coaching staff today, but kind of diminishes the ball game. Even Old Dominion's quarterback, their starter is not playing either. So it's two backup quarterbacks playing in the bowl game today, the Cure Bowl.
Yeah,
we talked about Roger, you know, and I know, and Doug as well, as everybody that we've talked to on the show, exactly what happens when these players decide to step out. We talked before we went on the air tonight, Doug, before you came on with us, about Notre Dame stepping aside and not participating in any of these bowl games. And their All-American tight end has decided he's going to play in the Senior Bowl because he is going to play. But a lot of the players are just stepping aside and saying, I'm not going to play. Now you play the whole season. Your team counts on these players to be a part of the bowl picture, and they don't do it. Doug, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think these, what you might call second-tier bowl games, I know one has already been canceled. The LA Bowl, they played that last week, Boise State, and I'm not sure the other team that was in it out in LA. The contract expired, and they're not going to play it again. So these second-tier or third-tier bowl games are really in trouble because, like you said, even this Cure Bowl, I think a lot of South Florida fans, even though it's 100 miles away, they probably didn't bother to make the trip over. They're not going to see Byron Brown, the good quarterback. I know ESPN owns a lot of them. They get some TV watchers, and maybe they make some money that way. But the games really have really no interest. I think we're going to lose more of these second and third tier bowl games in the next couple of years. They won't be bothered playing.
And you're going to go ahead, Roy.
I was going to say, the Yankees started the with the pinstripe bowl, right. And also the Red Sox have the Fenway Bowl. With two teams. Now I don't think a lot of they have their teams, but I don't think a lot of teams want to go and play at Fenway. When you could have a foot of snow on the ground. Like they got what I think about 8 inches up there, Don. You got 5, right?
We got 5 here.
Yeah, they got a lot more. Doug, what do you think about that?
Yeah, also, players, they think about turning pro. Even if you're a junior player, you don't want to risk an injury. And perhaps, they're getting paid now, most of the players, if not all of them. Why play in a game like this that really is meaningless? It just doesn't have the allure I know they get a trip somewhere and maybe they get some, gifts or whatever, but it's not the same as it used to be, where it was kind of a reward at the end of the season to play in any kind of bowl game. But now I think these players are saying, why bother? The season's over. I want to save myself for either next year or perhaps a chance of getting drafted. So, a lot of these players, even a couple other schools, were invited to bowl games, and they had to, I think, revert to getting some 5 and 7 teams in some of these bowl games. You used to have a 6 wins. Some of these 5-1 teams are getting invited now because schools are saying no, thank you.
Doug, you're going to get a chance to the Reliance Bowl, which is played right there in Tampa. You're going to get a chance to cover that again this year. We did it for many years, and you got 2 pretty good teams. The Volunteers are a very high-scoring team. It ought to be a fun game.
I think it's a pretty good matchup. Yeah, I know I've been there, and of course, Frank, we've been there for many, many years and seen some great schools over the years. And I would say the Reliance West is, right up there with, right underneath the playoff bowls, obviously. But it's always been a pretty good matchup, draws pretty good crowds. I'm interested, though, in the Vanderbilt quarterback. He had some controversy over the Heisman vote. Had some comments he made. He kind of apologized for them after that. But I'm not sure. I haven't heard if he's playing in the game yet. I don't know if you guys have. But he's a great offensive quarterback. He came in and did a great job at Vanderbilt this year.
Absolutely. No question about that. Roger?
Well, he's a big contributor to the resurrection of Vanderbilt as far as a solid football team, because they've had some coaches, one that I knew pretty well, Derek Mason, and he didn't have success, and I thought he would, and he did for a little bit, but not long. But I'll tell you, the coach and the quarterback at Vanderbilt just have done a fantastic job. So, you're going to get to see a good game. I know in this area, everybody's excited. They are planning on going to New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl because they'll know this weekend who the Dogs will be playing down there.
Well, I'll tell you, there's going to be a lot of really good games. No question about that. And we always had a great chance to go to Tampa for that game. And Doug, you and I guess we were there, about 10, 12 straight years for it. And it's going to be a little bit different time frame. It's going to be the first game on the New Year's on Eve. It's going to be the first game of 3, right?
Yeah, 12 o'clock kickoff. I know you and I have been to some New Year's Day games that have started at that time as well. But this is I think this is the earliest they've ever played it on a New Year's Eve day. Right.
Well, who do you think? Well, you the 3 of you, okay, the experts about the Reliance Quest Bowl, formerly the Outback Bowl. Who do you look to see who's going to win this game?
I'd say Iowa. I think they're going to. I think it's going to be a tough game, but I think Iowa's going to take it.
That's Frank Cowell, our executive producer, jumped in there. He likes Iowa. Doug, who do you like?
Yeah, again, I'm not sure. I haven't heard yet if the quarterback we're talking about for Vanderbilt is actually playing in the game. If he's playing, I like to see what he can do offensively. He did a great job. So if he's playing, I'll go for Vanderbilt.
Yeah, Don.
You, Don.
I'm going to stay with the big 10. I'm going to go with Iowa too.
Yeah. Hey, Don. While we're talking about Reliance Quest Bowl,
I like their defense.
Yeah, Don, while we're talking about the bowl, we'd be very remiss if we didn't let everybody know that Mike Schulze, who is the coordinator for the bowl, had a very serious operation. He had blood clots in his leg and in his lung and has been out now for almost a month, but he is recovering at home, and he hopes to be at the game, but he's not going to be in charge of anything this year because of his recovery.
Yeah, and he's nice enough to join us week in and week out talking about college football, and also, as importantly, was that he got a little vacation time. He's been associated with the bowl almost since the very first day. So he's been there 30-some years, and got a little vacation, and then wound up with these blood clots, unfortunately, and really put them on the shelf, Frank.
Yeah. Don, before Outback, it was the Rooters Bowl back at the Sombrero. And then after that, that's when Outback came in after Hooters couldn't afford it anymore. And then ReliaQuest when Outback couldn't afford it anymore. But I want to ask Doug. Doug,
originally it used to be the Hall of Fame, the
right,
Shrine Bowl, not
right,
the
Hall of Fame Bowl. Yeah,
way before the Hooters.
Yeah, Doug. Out of the 12 kids that came out for the portal today, 7 of them are from Florida, and all of them are starters. What's your thoughts on that one?
I'm trying to get the beginning of this, Frank.
Out of the 12 kids that came out, announced that they're going to the portal today, 7 of those are starters from the University of Florida. What's your thoughts?
Florida or South Florida?
Florida.
Florida. Yeah, I didn't see the names, so I didn't get a chance to look at that. But yeah, I've had a chance since I've lived in Florida to cover high school football, broadcast many games, and we've saw so much talent just from the high school level in this area. Throughout the whole state, but particularly the west coast of Florida, so that doesn't surprise me at all.
Mm-hmm. No, it just seems.
Frank, let me ask you this, Frank, because you're a Notre Dame guy. You've been a Notre Dame guy all your life. And what are your thoughts about them stepping aside and not participating in any bowl? Because what happened with the Atlantic Coast Conference and what happened with the selection committee not picking them in the top 12, taking Alabama instead?
Well, I think it was a disgrace, to be perfectly honest with you. They were in the top 10 all season long. Miami was between 11 and 13, and the ACC, for whatever reason, lobbied to get Miami in there. And that really was an affront to Notre Dame. Notre Dame is going to continue to play independent. They may play a couple ACC teams, but they're going to play independent again. I agree with the withdrawal from the bowl because they just feel that again, they feel that Vegas and the money people are behind this, and they just don't feel that that's an honorable thing to do.
Roger, well, I'm not surprised that they're not going to join the ACC. They're going to stay independent because that way they keep their NBC TV contract. Mm-hmm. Whereas if they went into the ACC, they lose it.
Right.
But I just think that it's what I said earlier, maybe even before we went on the air, that the critics feel, and it's because they didn't play another game like the other teams had to play, their conference championships and things. But I also think that if Notre Dame was in there, they're going to have probably a bigger draw at whatever game. I mean, I guess they're going to sell out every game, but you never know. But Notre Dame fans are they're terrific. I mean, they really, like you, Frank, they really follow the team, and they're so supportive. And I think maybe it was a mistake not to get them into the tournament.
Roger, the 2 biggest teams that draw, that have their fans to go to every game, no matter where it is, no matter what it costs, are number 1 was Notre Dame, number 2 was Penn State, number 3 was Alabama.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Doug, the one thing that you've seen in your area down there was, you've been in Sarasota now for quite some time and out of New York, but you've seen a couple of the Bulls move around. They go from of course, the one in Tampa has stayed pretty much the same, whether it's all the different names it's had, but it's stayed the same location. But you've seen a couple of others that have moved around and not necessarily even in the same location they were when you first got down there, Doug.
Yeah, Gasparilla Bowl, which is actually this Friday, used to be at the Trop. And then they moved it to Raymond James, I guess about 4 or 5 years ago. So, yeah, I've been there at the Trop to see that. Both they used to have the old East-West Shrine game which started out in California, I believe, or at least was out there for many, many years.
Oh, yeah, San Francisco.
Wound up here at the Tropicana Field for several years. They didn't draw too well. They never seemed to get people to come, so they moved it out. They actually moved it back to Las Vegas for a couple of years, and now it's in the Dallas at the Cowboy Stadium now. So that game used to be here in Florida as well.
Yeah, they're moving, as we said a little earlier in the show, they're moving the bowl and canceling some of the bowls because, and in all honesty, I really believe, and I'll let you guys comment on it, I just thought they had too many. I thought they just, I thought it was okay as a tribute to the school to give the kids an extra game and all, but I really did not think that the number of bowls that they have now are really, I just think it's a little too many. Roger?
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. And I just, with the East-West Shrine game, I thought it was still at Kezar Stadium in San Francisco.
Well, yeah, it's because you're old. That's good. You're one of the only guys who remembers Kezar Stadium. Even the 49ers don't remember Kezar Stadium. Doug,
I am old. I admit it.
Doug, what do you think?
It used to be, the Big Four, sugar, orange, Rose Bowl, and cotton, and then you had a couple of the other ones that had a lot of tradition. The Sun Bowl was one of those. Remember the Afro Blue Bonnet Bowl and Houston? Those were the kind of the other ones you might watch once in a while. The Gator Bowl. And, of course, now ESPN owns about, 17 of them. So, it's content for them. So they had to find cities to hold these bowls. So if ESPN ever thinks they're losing money on these, they'll all go away quickly. But that's why we have so many. But, yeah, I agree with you. Way too many bowl games. But they want a whole bowl season. They have a game pretty much every night leading up to the playoff bowl. So, they get content out of it.
Well, the big thing is it gives them programming. That's the problem. You have so many channels now. I mean, you just take ESPN, ESPN 1, ESPN 2, ESPNU. They all need programming. And so I guess it's cheaper to put on a bowl game, even though very few people are going to really watch it. That's my only explanation. I don't know why you would have all these bowl games that nobody's really going to watch. Doug?
And they don't get a lot of fans either. I watched a little bit of the Cure Bowl earlier in South Florida. They don't show the stands very much if there's not many people there, but you can almost tell that very few people in Orlando today. I'll be interested to see what happens with the Gasparilla Bowl Friday here in Tampa. And I think Reliance Bowl will do well. They always draw, since you and I have been going well, but some of these other fringe bowls, particularly ones in the cold weather cities, like you said, the Pinstripe and the Fenway, although they are kind of iconic stadiums, so maybe they get a little bit better. But, like there's other, I think it's Bahamas Bowl and some of those other bowls like that, they don't get a lot of ticket sales either.
Well, we only have a couple minutes before Larry Bowl comes on, and I just want to throw one controversial point out there, which they harped on in the New York Post today. And that was that the quarterback that went from BYU, who would not have been Hello.
Hey, Larry, it's Frank. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hey, first of all, I want to say thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it on short notice like this, but also we hope you and your family have a great holiday season.
Well, thank you. Same to you guys.
Okay, I'll put you right into the system.
Afterward, of course, your guys' thoughts about it. I just can't believe they do this.
I can't either. I mean, anti-Semitism with all the issues and what we talked about in Australia also, I believe.
Right.
MIT that was killed was Jewish last night. I just do not understand that, but it's a lot of it is obviously the media with picking up and causing this trouble because there's a prejudice. And yet, as we were growing up, and for many years, what the big number of members in the media and in management were Jewish. Okay, and I mean, you look at Comcast, Brian Roberts, and his father, Ralph Roberts, and then they had Ed Rendell, and they had the guy that used to be the city solicitor or something. Frank, you'd remember that. He's like the vice president of Comcast. So I don't get it, Don. I'm with you. I
just
this trouble.
Well, not only that, they made all the T-shirts. They're selling all these T-shirts now at Tulane because of the phraseology on the shirt. I just don't understand it, why they would do something like that. Doug, any thought on that, Doug?
Yeah, I had not seen that in the Post. I read this morning. I didn't see that story. Maybe it came out later. But I think anything that gets controversy, not necessarily all bad, even if it sounds bad. So that's why the thought behind that.
Well, as they say, they're talking about the jersey. There are two definitive shirts that are being put out. I don't have it right in front of me now because I don't have the Post here now. I read it this morning, but so I don't know the exact phraseology of each one of the ones. But they do have two T-shirts. One is selling better than the other. But the whole thing is what a great thing this is that he went from BYU. Unfortunately, he was clear. Not unfortunately, fortunately, he was cleared of his sexual violation at BYU. But even though he was cleared, he would not have been eligible to play. They wouldn't have allowed him to play. So he transferred down to Tulane, and he brought them a championship. He got them into the tournament. So he's had a tremendous year. But I just think to use those kind of quotes for using his name, I just don't understand it. Frank, any comment?
No, that's just Larry's in the wings waiting here.
All right, we're going to get right to it. Doug, thank you very, very much. Have a great holiday Christmas season. Go ahead.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Doug.
We'll see you next year.
We'll do it.
Christmas, Happy New Year, Doug. Best to you.
Thanks, Roger.
Well, let me welcome Larry Bowe in. First time we chatted with him in a while. When always kind enough to join us wherever we call and ask him. Larry, before we start, I always call and give you a happy Merry Christmas and Happy New Year before the holidays. So I'll do it right on the show rather than have to call you during the season. But all the best to the family for the holidays.
Well, thank you, Don, and same to you. I know you got some good weather down there. We're freezing up here in Philly, but it's going to get better. It's going to warm up a little bit in the next couple of days.
Roger, you had a question for me before we started, or we talked about it in the first half hour. I'll let you propose that to Larry and see what he thinks.
Larry, always good to hear your voice, and you add so much to the show and your knowledge and your career. The question I have when I read the article about the signing of Garcia, and I assume, sounds like he's going to be playing right field, and he's quite a defensive outfielder. Has had some good seasons. Signed for $10 million, but a lot of surprises in the media by the signing of this young man.
Yeah, there was. I thought maybe if you look at his overall ability, he does have tools, obviously. Last couple of years, he has not played up to his capabilities. Maybe it's because he was with the White Sox and things don't go too well there, but he's a very good defensive player. Obviously, he's going to get some home runs. The one area that concerned to me, and I checked it out, he strikes out a lot, which guys that hit home runs normally do. But it was interesting to see Dave say that for the most part, his outfield, he feels is set with Crawford and him and Marsh, I guess. So we'll see how that plays out. Dave usually doesn't reveal his hand this early, but he came out and definitely said that's probably going to be the outfield for next year.
Also, Sonny, your home run leader last year, what, he had 57 home runs, and got a big contract, but he earned it.
Yeah, he did, Don. I mean, he was the one guy I thought we really had to sign. And not because, obviously what he did offensively, but he's so good in the clubhouse. He's great in the community. He's just a great guy. And I know John Middleton did everything in his power to keep him in the Philly pinstripes. He got a little competition from a couple teams that sort of raised my eyebrows a little bit. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati came in with some pretty good offers. And, of course, the Phillies topped that. And I'm glad he's back in the fold with us because that's a big bat in the middle of our lineup. No question about that.
A lot of folks thought Cincinnati was really the organization was going to give them the most competition because he's from that area, and they thought that maybe he, would like to go back in the area where he grew up. But it turned out that they put the dollars on the table and he signed a contract.
Yeah, I really believe though if he didn't come to terms with the Phillies, just by talking with him and everything, I think Cincinnati might have been his next destination. But I'm glad we got him, and I think he's happy to be back. And
Roger? Well, I agree with you, Larry, because he's from Ohio, and I know even during the summer, there were a lot of thought that might be his final destination. But I just think it's great that the Phillies did sign him, and just for all the reasons that you noted. But I am concerned about the outfield with Marsh because, to me, Marsh is very inconsistent. I know when they got him from the Angels in that trade, I thought that he really showed a lot in that year that they went to the World Series. But it really hasn't been consistent. He hasn't been consistent since that year.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, and the ability's there. There's no question about that. And from what I gather, just talking with a couple people, that he's going to be playing left field, and Otto Kemp probably will take some reps when a good left-handed pitching comes into play here because Marshy, like you said, at times he looks unbelievable, and other times it's just not there. But he's a tremendous player. He's got great athleticism. He started to hit left-handers a little bit better, but I think we got it covered if he doesn't, if he's playing left, and then, like I said, there's some tough lefties coming in. It wouldn't shock me to see Otto Kemp out there in left field.
Larry, over the last couple of years, we talked repeatedly about what happens to the Phillies when after they have a hot streak and then a bad streak and then a hot streak, but more importantly, when they go into the playoffs and swinging out of the strike zone, doing some things they wouldn't normally do. More consistency of moving runners along, getting them in scoring position, developing to getting them home. All these things that we've talked about it bounced back again this year.
It did, Don. It did. And you know what's amazing about that is, for the most part, our starting pitching, and really our bullpen, for the most part, did a very good job. But again, I mean, you're going to have to put up numbers in playoffs. And as you stated, I mean, I watched the Dodgers and Toronto play the World Series, and I thought it was a tremendous World Series. I think Toronto definitely outplayed the Dodgers the entire series, except for a couple plays. But if you watch that series, they go back to playing baseball. You see some hit and running. You see some sacrifice bunts. You see guys going from first to third. We got to learn how to do that because when our bats go south, you can't rely on 3-run home runs in the playoffs. It's just the pitching's too good, and we got to find ways to manufacture some runs. I know during the course of the summer, if you lose a ball game by not manufacturing a run, nobody's going to say anything because you got another 120 games to play. But when you're in short series like we are, you've got to do the little things, and we have not done that the last 3 years. And until we do that, we're going to continue to have issues. Because, like I said, our starting pitching, I thought, was outstanding last year. So, you only get so many chances, as you well know, Don. And I'm not saying the window's shut and is closed right now, but it's coming down a little bit. Because most of our guys are in their 30s now, which isn't old. Regular if you have another job. But in baseball, the analytic people and everything, when you got a 3 by your name, they start thinking the arrow's going the other way. So we got to put up or shut up. And we've only gotten so many chances, and we've already had 4 now. And we've come up short on every one of them.
Roger, Johan Rojas, Larry, do you think that he has a future with the Phillies at all?
I really like this kid.
I do too. I love him.
For some reason, I don't know exactly what's going on there. I like him to the point where if I'm the manager, which I'm not, I'm putting him in center field and saying, you go catch everything. I don't care where you hit. You're going to steal bases. But, baseball's played a little bit different now. There's no question about that. And they want to see some offense. So we'll see how it plays out. But if I'm the Phillies, I don't want to give up on this kid. I really don't. He's still young. He's got tremendous tools. But right now, I don't even see his name mentioned at all as far as platooning or wherever he's playing. I know he's coming to spring training. But I really like him, though. I really like his play. I like his attitude. And we'll see how this thing plays out.
Larry Moore, special guest this half hour. Shortstop of the shortstops, and when he played, he had a great combination of people around him, which that's what you gotta have. I mean, it's not just one person or two people. You gotta have teammates. You gotta have people that can do all different kinds of things. And Larry, you were fortunate enough for a great number of years, not when you first came up, obviously, but after the first few years, where you had guys that you could count on. You knew what they were going to do, and you knew what they were going to produce.
No question. That to me, that's important. And you sort of, after a while, you lose a couple games to 2 or 3 of these things, and then you start saying, you know what, our time's up. And that sort of reminds me of back in the mid-'70s. We kept winning, and we kept facing teams like the Big Red Machine and the Dodgers, who were tremendous baseball teams. And then finally in '80, we got over the hump. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Hopefully this could be a year where we come back. We got some ifs. There's no question about it. We need Wheeler 100%. We need Nola to have a bounce-back year. We're probably going to lose Ranger. Ranger's going to get a big contract. I don't know where he's going, but he's going to get a big contract. I like our bullpen. I don't think that's an issue whatsoever. And the bottom line is going to come down to we got to play, as you said, more consistently when games are on a short series. Best of 5, best of 7. And you can't continue to swing for the fences like you do during the summertime from game 1 to game 162, and then you get in the playoffs. Those pitchers out there, they're there for a reason, and that team's there for a reason. They're not going to give a lot of 3-run home runs up. So we got to change the philosophy a little bit.
Roger?
Yeah, we have to turn it up, and you're going from having some mediocre pitching and poor pitching for a lot of teams. Once you get to the playoffs and higher, as you go deep in the playoffs, you got the best of the best. And I hope that Wheeler gets back there at the beginning of the season. And do you think there's a chance that Ranger could stay with the Phillies, Larry?
This is just my opinion. I think our payroll's to the point now where I'm not saying it's impossible, because John Middleton's a great owner. And if John wants something, if he thinks that we need that, I could see him maybe spending more money. But just looking at the value of what he is right now, it's going to be a big contract. It's going to be 4 years probably somewhere at maybe 25 to 30 million a year. This guy can pitch. He's a big part of our success. If I was in charge of Wheeler right now, I would make sure that Wheeler stays down there in the month of April. Because why would you bring him up here in the cold weather for the first month? Again, I don't know the progress. It sounds like the progress is going in the right direction, but you got to be careful here, because this was a serious operation, and we got to make sure he's 100%. So, I mean, if he has a great spring and nothing bothers him, go ahead and leave with him. But if they're going to slow play it in spring training, I just didn't see him stay down there in the warm weather and then come up when the calendar turns to May.
Larry, I couldn't believe it more. I think you got to be more protective. You got to make sure that, I don't think just in baseball. I think, like the quarterback for the Commanders in Washington. I mean, you can't bring that kid back and have to get hurt in the last 2 games of the season, maybe not play for 2 years or ever play again, like what happened a couple of years ago. So I think the same thing you're talking about. It was really unfortunate for the Phillies, because they had a very deep starting pitching rotation, including, but it just turned out that a couple of them got hurt. I mean, you don't expect that to happen.
Yeah, we've been lucky, Don, with the exception, especially before last year. Our pitchers basically stayed pretty healthy.
Right.
Last year we had a couple things. Nola went down, then Wheeler went down. Those are 2 of your big horses, and like I said, we need both those guys to have good years. I mean, Wheeler was having a great year till he got hurt. Nola pitched a lot better towards the end, but in the middle he was sort of a little shaky. I expect both of those guys, if they're healthy, I think they're going to give us what we need. And then Ranger sort of came out of nowhere. I love the way this kid pitches, and hopefully that arrow is going to be continuously pointing up because he was in the running for the Cy Young. And obviously you got a guy like Skeens who's dominating, but since he did a tremendous job for us last year. There's no question about that.
I was just going to say, Ranger got off to a slow start, but as the season unfolded, by the middle of June, he started to hit his stride. And he went through about 7 games, 5, 6, 7 games there, where, he gave up like 2 or 3 hits and no runs. And I mean, he was just a dominant pitcher.
We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. The Dodgers, with the success they've had with signing Japanese players, and of course Sotani fired, with the big contract. But what about the Phillies? I can remember growing up, before your time. They felt that Japanese players were too small. Well, that's definitely not a factor today.
Right.
I mean, these guys are big guys. And what do you think? Is there anybody in the pipeline that the Phillies have from Japan?
We go there to Japan every year. We send a couple of scouts every year. This past season, I think it was Sasaki or one. Yeah, we actually tried to get a meeting with him, and he didn't even want to meet with us for some reason. I don't know why. This is just me guessing. I think the environment here is so much different than playing on the West Coast, and I think these Japanese pitchers understand. Hey, I better get there, and I better pitch good from Jump Street, or I'm going to hear some boos and things like that. And I'm not saying that's the reason we're not getting them, but I think that comes into play a little bit. They're all going out to LA where the atmosphere is laid back. If you win, fine. If you lose, fine. But their payroll's off the charts. They can pass guys up for 6, 7, 8 days before they pitch. Whereas, you come back here and you're going to have to pitch every 5th day. We don't have that luxury right now to have, you're on an 8-man rotation or something like that. So I know we scouted that team. This guy that's coming out right now, I know we sent Georgie Valenti over there for 2 or 3 weeks. He's watched him. He loves him. The reports on him are good. And are we in the mix here? I don't know. I would think that we have to be in the mix. But again, we'll see how this plays out.
Larry Moore, our special guest this half hour. And Larry, you've we worked with Charlie for so many years too, going checking all the minor league credentials of the players within the Phillies organization. How about the organization itself? How do you look at that from say AAA on down? How do you look at what's going on?
I think we've improved on, but I don't think where we want to be. This kid, Aiden Miller, he's close. He played at Reading last year. He shocked me. I didn't think he was as quick as he is. He's still close to 60 bases, I think. He had a good second half. I know right now that Trey Turner is the shortstop. This kid can play short. And if by chance, I don't know, there's been a lot of bone rumors that they're going to try to involve him in a trade. I could see this kid coming up and playing third base, not out of spring training, but give him the first 2.5 months in AAA. He's one of those guys that stands out for me. And of course, I've seen Crawford a lot. I love Crawford. I think he's going to do fine. Just got to let the fans know. Everywhere he goes, the first month he's 230, 235. At the end of the year, he's 320 or above. This kid's a player. He can run. He puts the ball in play. He can run balls down. In my opinion, he's a left fielder. He can play center as far as running them down. He doesn't really have a center field arm per se. But again, you look back at how many guys get thrown out from center field now in baseball. Really not that many. So, but those two guys in particular are the two that I'm looking at that could be a big impact on us. Crawford out of spring training, I think, is going to be given that job. And then I think Miller is going to be close, if he does what he's supposed to in AAA.
Roger?
Well, I think it would be great if we have had the success in spring training, Rojas in center, Garcia in right, and also
You can put Crawford in left.
put Crawford in left, like you were saying. What an outfield that would be.
That's a big plus outfield as far as defense is concerned. And all three of those guys can play defense.
I was just going to say, Larry, go back to your point just before Roger came on, and that is when you talk about the players in center field or right field making it, being able to make those fine defensive plays. But the thing is, do they throw it to the right pace?
Right.
Do they know that? Do they know what the score is? Do they know that? I mean, it's unbelievable. You sit back and you watch these games and you say, here you got a guy on second base and you're one run behind, the guy gets a base hit. And what do? They throw the ball somewhere where the guy goes from first to second, and then they get a base hit, they lose the game. I mean, it's night after night after night.
You know what, Don? There's no question players are bigger, faster, stronger. They have so many things available to them now with the analytics, dietitians. But the integral part of the game is so overlooked right now. The base running is horrendous. Throwing to the wrong base is horrendous. Keeping double plays. And I'm not speaking about that. I'm talking about baseball in general. Keeping a double play in order, like you said. Play the scoreboard. Play the scoreboard. Guys on second is quicker than anybody. And gets the base hit to center, the ball's on the ground. You're not going to throw them out at home. Throw the ball to second base. Keep a double play. Or no, we're going to throw it over everybody's head. The runner's going to score anyway. Now the guy that hit it, he's on second. These are little things that I guarantee during the summer nobody says anything because you're playing 162 games. But you get in these playoffs and you make two dumb mistakes like that, and you see what happens. I saw two plays that happened with Toronto, and again, I thought they had a great series. The guy getting double off at second on a ball that was the left fielder caught chest high. I don't know where he was going. And then the inability for the guy at third with the infield in and left-handed hitter up for Toronto, not getting off far enough. He would have beat that throw home. Rojas he slipped when he caught the ball, threw a ball off line a little bit to home plate, and he was out by an inch. If he gets the lead he's supposed to, and the guy at second doesn't get doubled off, those are two plays that go completely the other way, and I think Toronto probably wins that series, but it didn't happen. And they were the little things, because Toronto, for the most part, played well the whole series, but those two base running mistakes stand out in my mind.
I agree, you're 100%. To me, they were the better team. They should have won the World Series. They didn't win the World Series only because of things that were mechanically poor on their part. Roger, you're up.
Yeah, the basic plays, okay? And that's what you always preach to kids when they're growing up, okay? It's the advanced runner, okay? Right. And don't go to the wrong base. The throw, the catch. Right. Just basic baseball, and that's what you grew up with. I grew up with long before you. Don and I are close in age. But I'll tell you, Larry, when these plays are made, I get a call from Don. Can you believe that?
Oh, I know. You know what's amazing? And I was told this at a young age. Everybody has the will to win. There's no question about it. You go up to any guy. You want to win this year? Yeah. But do you have the will to prepare? And to me, that's important. Are you prepared to win? Everybody's got a will to win. Or you don't have that uniform on. But do you have the will to prepare every night to win? That to me is the question. And I really don't believe every night that we're so caught up in analytics. Let's see how far we can hit it. Pitchers throw as hard as they can. Let's see if I can get some strikeouts. It doesn't matter how many guys I walk. And the game is a lot more sophisticated than just hitting balls in the seats and trying to strike out hitters.
Well, the other thing, too, is that we never really talk about it. And that is, and I know how important you were with Joe Torre when you were third base coach for the Yankees, and not only that from a managerial standpoint, even more importantly. But, you just mentioned the play at third base. What's the third base coach doing? What's he saying? What's he saying to the guy? Get off the goddamn base!
After the first pitch, Don, if I'm coaching third, the hitter was Varsho, a pull hitter. The third baseman was off the line. That guy could have got off as far as the third baseman. And his comment was, I didn't want to get doubled off. Well, even if there was a line drive hit at third, and you were at the proper distance where your lead was, you're still going to get back. But you got a full hitter up there. They're basically at third. He doesn't hit that many balls to third base. Get off. He would have scored on that ball. Easy. If he had another 5 to 6 foot lead. In fact, Rojas, once he slipped, he probably wouldn't even have thrown home. But he saw where the runner was. He felt he had a chance. And that was a big run at that time.
That's what I say. I just say I look at now. You talk about the reports of being caught at second base. I mean, what are these people doing? I mean, the common sense tells you what's going to happen. I mean, you got to know. You got to know before the guy hits the ball what you're going to do. What you're going to do.
And you know what, Don? I had players, and they keep telling me. I would go up and say, "You can get off more." The guy goes, throws strike one. I'll go up to him. You can get off. I'd do it every pitch. You can get off more, get more. And eventually, if he didn't want to, I'd go up there and draw a line with my spike. I said, "This is where I want you right here. And if you get doubled off, it's on me, not you. It's on me." But I don't know if they do that now. I don't know if the communication. I can't speak for the third base coach in Toronto. I don't know what was said, but I know what I'd have been saying after every single pitch then. And it just, like I said at the time, everyone said, "Oh, it was a good play by Roy." It was a good play, even after he slipped. But it was a bad base running mistake.
Well, as I say, it just seems to me there's never any criticism about, hey, what's the coach doing here? What's this guy doing? He lets the guys get him caught at the plate for no reason. Roger, you're up.
Yeah, I saw a lot of, I did the PA on a lot of high school games this past season. And the one thing that impressed me, I mentioned it to Don and Frank during the season, is that a lot of these high school teams, Larry, have really good fundamental baseball. They play, and it tells me or shows me, they're playing travel ball and a lot of games, but I think that also has an effect on wear and tear on the arms of pitchers, because I saw a number of games where a guy was out and then he went and played the field, but yet the next night he was back pitching a couple of innings. And it even goes back to Little League, where they're playing in a couple of different leagues. What do you think about that?
I'm not in on the bringing a kid back at a young age the next day, and like you said, a guy throws a 6 or 7 inning game, then he goes out in the outfield and throws. You only have so many bullets in that arm. I was shocked when I watched the Dodgers bring out the starting pitcher that pitched the day before after throwing 100 pitches, and he came out and did it. He pitched 3 innings in that last game.
Right.
That was impressive. And
Happy Hanukkah, my man.
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
Yeah, same old crap, different day. How about you?
Yeah, something like that.
How's the team doing?
We've played 2 games. We're 2-0.
Hey, nice. Good.
Well, it's still early, I know, but it's just, as you know from your coaching experience, you gotta take it kind of slow with these kids and integrate different things you want to do. You've got, kids that can and kids that are learning, so
Right.
It's going to take a little bit of time to gel. I think that the better part of our team, I think, is skilled enough that we can move the ball, and we've gotten some pretty easy shots, some layups, some fast breaks, some different things. So I think it looks good so far, and I think it could only get better in terms of us developing more skill in the process. So,
okay,
but yeah,
good. Well, say hello to Candace and your son, and I'll put you in the system.
mature as an individual, and then you go from there.
All right, let me ask you, as we get closer to the end of our half hour here, and once again, I appreciate it so much, spending so much time with us. But how do you evaluate the Phillies right now as you look? You mentioned that you're good. The team is getting in that that magical 3, and so how do you look at this year?
Well, first of all, I hope we get to sign JT. Again, I don't know what's happening, but right now I've watched Atlanta They made some big time moves that I think have really improved their team. Everyone's getting down on the Mets. Don't give up on that team. Right? They already solidified the bullpen. I think they got something up their sleeve. And in my opinion, Washington and Miami are going to be better. They're not going to win the division. They're both going to be better. And I think we got to play good baseball. I don't think we're going to run away with this division. I think there's too many teams that have improved, but we got to stay healthy. We got to give Wheeler 100% and Nola. To me, those are huge, because if those two guys don't do what they're supposed to do, we could have some issues. Because I expect Painter to come on and do what he's supposed to do. So the depth is going to be important for us, because again, I don't know. I hope Wheeler's 100%. It sounds like his rehab's going tremendous, and we'll see how that plays out. But I think right now, I still think we're the team right now. If we were to start today, that we would be the team to beat in the East. But those other teams are making some big moves right now, and we got to keep an eye on those other teams.
Roger, I'll let you close out the half hour. Larry, once again, Merry Christmas to you and the family. Have a great New Year, and we'll see you at the ballpark. But Roger, you close us out.
Absolutely. But talking about the Braves, new manager, I think that'll be interesting. With Brian Snicker retiring. So,
Right.
But they made some moves. But I'm with you. If all goes well, and you never know with the Phillies, they're liable to come up with some other pitcher. That might surprise everybody. But I'm with you, Larry, and I think it'll be an interesting season in the NL East.
I do too. I really do, because, like I said, I think those bottom feeders, Washington and Miami, I think they have some good young talent, and they're going to start to. I'm not worried about them winning the division, but it's not going to be a piece of cake going in there and sweeping them every time you go play those two teams. So it's going to be interesting how this plays out.
Absolutely. Well, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you and your family, Larry. You're the best.
Thank you very much, guys, and have a great Christmas and a happy and healthy New Year.
Thanks, Larry.
Great off season, and we'll see you at spring training. Take care, Larry.
Sounds good, Don. Take care.
Take care. All right, we had Larry Ball for a half hour, and that's anytime you get a chance to talk to Larry, he tells you what it's all about, and he's absolutely been great with us over the years. I can't tell you how much I appreciate. Anytime we call him, he'll come on to us and talk about not only about the Phillies but other teams as well, because he does so much scouting during the course of the season, as well as working behind the scenes with the Phillies. So he does pretty much not only the Philly farm system, but he also does the farm system of almost every other club in baseball. So I don't know if we're ready for
He's there.
our next shot.
Douglas is there.
Doug's on there now.
Doug's on there now.
With us. I'm here. All right. We're in good shape. Everything's gonna run smoothly tonight. How about this? Mike Zimzak is. We talked a little bit of soccer on the first half hour. We'll come to that a little bit later on. Doug Hamilton, our PGA professional, master professional, I might add, in a very select group himself. And a lot of things to talk about on the golf front, as well as the season just getting ready to turn around. But let's talk about the Ravens and Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh won a big game the other night, which put them in the driver's seat going into the last two. You said, I think, if I'm not incorrect, that's the last game of the season. The Pittsburgh plays like the Ravens. That's the last game.
Yes, that's weekend game.
So that should decide it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think Pittsburgh has 8 wins. Baltimore has 7. Pittsburgh plays the Lions this week. We play the Patriots this week. So I think we kind of have to keep some pace.
Hi, Frank.
Hey, bud, how you doing?
I'm good.
Okay, you ready to go?
Yeah, I just lost track of time.
Okay.
Yeah, to the edge, and I'll tell you what. Now, how about the quarterback situation, Doug? Because it's always a question mark. How's the knee? How's the back? How's the arm? What's the situation there?
Yeah, I think days off that he gets from a missed practice standpoint, I think he'll wind up hearing the media make more of it than it truly is. I think it's more of a maintenance concept than it is anything else. I think what I saw today that he had missed practice yesterday, I think because it's just an illness I think that he had. So I don't know what that means, but I fully anticipate him to be ready to go and back in practice as soon as possible.
Hey, Don, Mike's with us tonight.
How about, pardon me?
Mike's in there also.
Oh,
Mike's
Mike's
there.
there too. Mike, well, we'll talk about the quarterback there too. That was my next question. As a matter of fact, I thought he was there. We're going to the next question about the Commanders' quarterback. Are they going to hold him out? Are they going to keep him out for the rest of the season, or what are they going to do, Mike? We got a lot of noise in the background here. I don't know if you fellas are hearing it, but all the second half of Larry Bow is very tough, and I don't know what the noise is from. Go ahead, Mike.
No, they announced yesterday that Monday, I'm sorry. The Commanders announced on Monday that they were going to sit Jaden down for the rest of the season. They didn't put him on IR because he wanted to play and he wants to practice. So they're not going to put him on IR so that he can still practice with them. But throughout the rest of this season, Marcus Mariota is going to be starting for the Commanders.
Well, I think they had a lot of people that remembered what happened a few years ago. We talked about it 2 weeks ago, and I think maybe management decided this was the right way to go, and I think they're 100% correct. Wait till next year. Let them play. Let them play next year. Don't take a chance on really getting hurt further this year. That's my opinion.
Yeah, there's a lot of remembering what happened with RG3. There's also the fact that he was not medically cleared for contact. They had 2 short weeks coming up, so they weren't going to be able to get him ready to go until week 18. And there's no real point throwing him out in what will likely by that point in time be a meaningless game against the Eagles at the end of the season. So, sit him down, let him practice, let him get healthy so that you have him all season. He can be part of the all-season program, and he can be in good shape going into next year.
Roger?
Who's going to be playing, Mike? The backup, that's Kenny Pickens, right?
No, Kenny Pickett's the backup for the Raiders. The backup for the Commanders is Marcus Mariota. He's been playing most of the season.
That's right.
Jaden only played in 7 games this season, and 3 of them, the last 3, he left early for one reason or another.
But he did look pretty good. Mariota did, and in the games that I saw him play.
He's good for 1 turnover per contest. They tailor the offense a lot to his strength, so it's a lot more run pass option. There's a lot more option plays, and because that's what he's best at. He hasn't been bad. He's been good. He's kept them above. He's done the best that he could, but they also lost 8 games in a row going into last week when they beat the Giants. Right now they've got 3 division games coming up. The Eagles on Saturday, Christmas against the Cowboys, and then the Eagles again.
Not much hope there.
Yeah. I know they'd love to play spoiler against the Birds and go into the comp thing and give the Cowboys a shot, and then it's the Cowboys. But I think it's going to be a rather tough one for the Commanders this weekend against the Birds.
Going down the home stretch now with the Ravens, they had the very shaky beginning. The quarterback was injured. They come on now a little bit better. Tough week last week. But how do you look at these last 3 games, and then how do you look? What is their real percentage of winning going into the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we rewind 2 weeks ago to the Pittsburgh Steelers game, yeah, I mean, I think Isaiah likely caught a touchdown, and I think they got that wrong, and I think that completely changed that entire game. We'd have been ahead at that point. Not to say we would have won, but it definitely had a fingerprint on the outcome of that. And
Right.
Look, I mean, I don't know. Looking at the NFL, even with instant replay, they still can't. No one can define what an actual catch is at this point. I mean, for what it's worth, go back to many years ago. Des Bryant, that was a touchdown. Like I don't care what you say. So, I mean, they can't define it. There's no criteria. They can say what they want to. They can look at the rule book. They can have idiots like James Steratore up in the booth saying what he says, but the guy caught the football with 2 steps in the end zone, and he extended the football as if to make a football move. That's a touchdown. And, fast forward, last week, we beat the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati 24-0. Our defense shut them down. So I think that makes me feel a little better about, what's happening moving forward. I think New England's a very good football team. I think their quarterback, Drake May, has played at, an MVP level. I don't know that was expected, but, we're going to have to play some awfully good football, mistake-free down the stretch here. We're going to have to win a very tough game against New England at home. We're going to have to go on the road, and we're going to have to play, 2 very difficult, football teams in Green Bay, as well as Pittsburgh at home. So, or in Pittsburgh rather. So there's a lot of really, I mean, it's not like we get to play the Browns twice in Tennessee. You know what I mean? So they're going to have to play some football.
I'll tell you, the one thing that's really, I guess, amazes me is the fact that I never know when it's a touchdown. Because sometimes when they show you the replay, the guy's knee is on outside the goal line by maybe a foot or 2 feet, and then he puts a. And then sometimes they call that a touchdown, and sometimes they say, no, that the deviate down doesn't make any difference. Also, I don't understand how they make these calls when they got the replay. You're looking right at it, and the guy's knee is down on the 1 yard line, and the guy.
Last week's game, Thursday night game, was Atlanta versus Tampa Bay, and there were some controversial calls with Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson, and very similar, judgment kind of concept calls that could have gone really either way depending on the exact footage or, whether his rear end touched before his foot hit or, whatever. I think if you really truly looked at Isaiah likely catch the football, secure it with 2 hands, extend it, have 2 feet down, I don't understand why that's not a touchdown. And they can say what they want to about this is in the rule book, but if you apply that same rule across the board to other calls that have happened, you'll get, a cornucopia of results. So it's just very, and early in the game, the Steelers had kicked a field goal, and then they took the points off the board because there was a roughing call. And they said that Travis Jones made contact with the snapper. And the NFL actually later came back and said we messed that one up. So, I mean, then you look at the Ben Roethlisberger where he throws, or Aaron Rodgers when he throws the football, he catches it. And then they said that, his knee was down. But then you go back to, okay, well, he didn't survive the ground because the ball was coming loose. So one of those 2 was wrong, and they mixed them both up. So,
Mike, what do you think about that? I mean, it just seems to me that with all the replay and everything, if they're going to use the replay, let's make it, make it a little bit more concise as to what the verdict is going to be at the end of it.
I think the worst part about it is that we didn't really, and I know that they try to give you an explanation of what they see and whether we agree with it or not. I don't get the real explanation for why that was a touchdown. I felt like likely had enough control. He had he took 2 steps. He had the ball. He's in the end zone. To me, that's a catch and a touchdown. The ball comes out later. I mean, it reminds me, of the play that Doug was talking about. I remember that Calvin Johnson catch against. I think it was against the Bears, where he makes the catch with one hand, puts the ball on the ground, uses the ball to get up, and then lets it go. And they ruled that he didn't control the ball through catch.
Right.
I need them to be able to be consistent about what is a catch, what isn't, what is a hold, what isn't, what's pass interference, what isn't. It seems like from week to week, game to game, crew to crew, person to person, like even within a game, there's these inconsistencies, and I agree with you. With instant replay, I don't understand how you're still making some of these mistakes, and it's infuriating with all the camera angles that they have. The replay officials in New York City, all the technology that's available. I know, look, it's a human-based system. Anytime you have humans repping games, and I still would rather have humans than, the robot umpire in baseball. There's going to be mistakes. I just would like there to be some consistency throughout games and throughout weeks, and especially like the NFL has to do a better job of telling us what's the catch and what isn't.
Well, every game matters. We know that, but when you're talking about, for the division, if you will, and you have a scenario where you've got Pittsburgh and Baltimore playing late in that football game in the fourth quarter, and they call that not a touchdown, and that changes everything. Like that could make the difference between one of those two teams making or missing the playoffs. Like, I don't understand how we cannot get that right.
I couldn't agree more. Roger, you're up.
Yeah, the big question is, some of these games, especially that one game, what is a pass or a reception? What is a reception? And, it's the same thing, but it could be what is a pass and what is a fumble? Okay, because there's so much controversy on those calls, too.
Oh, but Rogers the other night, he did a 180, and I don't know. I don't understand it anymore. Go ahead,
Well,
Doug.
all I can tell you is that I'm watching a lot of college football, and I feel that the officiating in college is far better than the NFL overall. And I see that the NFL has signed a contract with the Big 12 officials. So what does that tell you?
Well, I'll tell you something else it tells me is the fact that they now are taking the best officials, not the most senior officials. So obviously their evaluation all of a sudden has changed, because it was always all the senior officials have, they have officiated so many games, they have to be better. Well, that's not the case. And now you could be a young official, and you got just as good a chance of being in the playoffs officiating as you do if you were a senior official. And that's the way I understand it. Is that right, Doug?
Yeah, I'd rather have the best people making the calls when it counts, you know what I mean, as opposed to, your seniority. And, just, you can look at a lot of these games and they're just, they actually have people, and I used to listen to 105.7 a lot, and one of the reports they used to give before each and every Ravens game was a guy that would come on. I think he had been an NFL version of coach at some point. I don't know what his position was, but he evaluates each game pertaining to the referees and saying, this is your crew that's going to be calling this game, and here's what they have a tendency to call. They're really heavy on holding calls, or they're really heavy on, whatever. And I think those make a huge difference in a lot of these games. Yeah. Let's shift gears.
Mike, let me ask you this, because Doug was mentioned, 105.7. Do you ever listen to 630? Mike?
Yeah, I listen to 630 and the other one too. And yeah, I listen to all of the three of the local sports talk radio stations.
Yes, well, 6:30 used to be a legendary AM station, and one of the great sportscasters, sports talk host, Don knew him well too. Ken Beatrice, was there. The late great Ken Beatrice. I first listened to him at WBC in Boston, but I was wondering. We never, we hear about sports talk, in Philly with WIP and we talk about it down there, 105.7. But I was just wondering, do they have a good conversations with fans, or are they upset about the Commanders? What's their temperature?
Well, 6:30 is now the ESPN station, so
yeah, they have some local though, right?
Really only one show, and that's
Morning Drive.
An hour, and they usually have Brent Weinstein does the play-by-play for the Commanders, the radio play-by-play.
Yeah,
but they only have him every once in a while anymore. And then there's about an hour show before they go to highlights of Tony Kornheiser. So they don't.
So it's
really,
only
30 doesn't really have a true local. 106.7 and 910 are basically owned by the same people. Those would be your local talk stations,
right?
And they have people on. They get a lot of fans on. It just seems to be a lot of times when you're listening. It just seems to be though each show has its same set of callers that call in all the time, and those are the people that they talk to, and that's about it. So you kind of get the same voices over and over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Not like the old days when you had a limit. Remember that, Don? Yeah, once a week, or twice a week. That was it. Well, you're right. Now it's the same guys over, and I hear it on Sirius XM NFL radio too. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There's a guy that called 105.7 when I used to listen to it, and he goes by the name of Q, and he called it all the time. And he's a Jets fan, he's a Yankees fan, and every time he calls, he has nothing but terrible things to say about the Ravens and the Orioles. And I wouldn't even let the guy come on the show if it were me. He's an idiot.
Yeah, how's Harbaugh? They're more characters than anything else, and they'll have disputes with each other. And there's ones and I'm not even going to mention them by name because if that's not getting free publicity or anything like that. When they're all hot takes. They're ridiculous. I don't think that you can really make a cogent argument and call yourself a football fan and tell me that Taylor Heineke is a better quarterback than Jason Daniels.
Well, Doug, how's Harbaugh holding up down there in Baltimore? The fans still with him? I mean, the guy, has been a winner, has been a winner, has won the Super Bowl. But what's that thought?
It's to piggyback what Mike just said. I think it's hard to get an actual read because you have a lot of knee-jerk reaction to a team that's 7-7 at this point, and those are your fair weather fans that they think that the immediate plausible action is to say, well, we're not having a good season, so let's fire Coach Harbaugh. You know what I mean? It doesn't parallel like if you really look at all the ingredients that got baked into the season in terms of, injuries and close losses and different things that you could actually sit here and say, well, it's his fault. You know what I mean? I always thought on 105.7, the fan, Jason Akinfora had a lot of intel, if you will, because he knows a lot of people with regard to, moves that might get made or different things that are, available to him. But he's super liberal in his beliefs, and he hates the front office. He hates Mike Elias. He hates the ownership. That we should fire Hulk. He always has. He never has anything good to say. I haven't been listening to it recently. I'm curious to know what his take on the Orioles signing Pete Alonso is. If that's even he probably thinks that's stupid.
That's a big deal. Big deal. It's a huge deal.
570.
That got some good reviews down here, and I know that we have different, slightly different. They're two different places, but you got a lot of O's fans down here, and it was viewed pretty positively in the DC area, where at least for a little bit, at least for an afternoon, it got everybody off the carcass of the Commanders, and talking about the fact that the O's actually did something that they haven't done in 2 or 3 decades. Went out and spent real money for an actual player. Well, they've done it before, but it hasn't always turned out well. Went out, got a player, made a statement in free agency. I just think though they need pitching. Pitching would help. Pitching would be one thing.
The off season's not over yet, and I think a big move that gave them let's evaluate so far. I mean, they got a pretty big bat when they traded for Taylor Wood. They now signed Pete Alonso. They've added 2 potential 30 home run guys to their lineup. Looking forward into our crystal ball, we would say, if some of these youngsters can stay healthy and produce, I mean, Gunnar Henderson's a 30 home run guy with potential, and a lot of these other guys I think might fill in around him. I think the next logical move is to, they have a surplus to deal from in terms of first base and some of their prospects that now may be limited with playing time. And I think you also have some more dollars to spend as they said they would. I mean, if you look at what they spent last year versus what they've spent so far this year, they probably still have another $20 million to get to last year's payroll, which suggests to me they're probably not done yet. And to solve that starting pitching problem, I think, there's a couple really good solutions to that moving forward. And then obviously from our surplus, I think you can potentially trade to fill in what we need to, which, could be some bullpen depth as well as maybe an extra starter in there. So I'm pretty excited about what's going to happen here in the future.
Yeah, I got to agree with Mike. I think pitching. You got to have pitching. You got to have pitching. You can't win without pitching. Not only the bullpen, but you got to have at least 3 guys that can start, and you go more than 5 and 6 innings. You can't be going to the bullpen all the time, and that's with the shortage of Baltimore last year. They just didn't have enough pitching, and now Detroit's going to say, baby, trade the best pitcher in the American League away. I can't believe they're going to do it, but if they do, who's going to get them? It's probably going to be one of the rich teams, obviously. But I don't know, Mike. I agree with you. I think you got to have pitching. Larry Bowl was just on with us for the last half hour, and he was talking about how much he thinks Washington. He thinks the lower level teams in the East are going to be much better this year, including Washington. They're going to be much more competitive. Do you agree with that?
Well, not to interrupt here, but I think Mackenzie Gore could be a Baltimore Oriole by spring training. So, that's just what I think in terms of what I'm hearing.
Okay.
I mean, that's a possibility. It would be interesting to see what they would give up for him. Gore he's had his moments, but he's definitely, I don't think, turned into the pitcher that the Nationals hoped he was going to turn into when they traded for him. Within that, he came back in a Scherzer deal, I believe. Soto. I get the 2 deals mixed up sometimes, what they got back from each one. But, when they got him in a Soto deal, I think they thought they were getting a top line, plug and play starter. And he's been, I know he was the All-Star last year. He had that great beginning of the season when he was just striking everybody out. But then he regressed to the mean, and he was about a 500 pitcher, which is what he's been throughout his career, is maybe about a 500 pitcher. He can get to strikeouts, but he's also going to walk a lot of guys. So what you give up for him? He's a arm on a team, but I definitely don't think he has shown the capability to be an ace yet. As far as what the Nationals are going to do, Don and Roger, it's hard to tell right now because what are they going to do? It's like Doug said, it's still early in the offseason, but they did name a new GM today. The 31-year-old guy, So they're going real young around the board with stuff. I guess they want this organization to be young and grow together, see how that works. But they haven't really made they haven't made any moves. We need to see what it is that they're going to do. Are they going to add pieces? Are they going to add payroll? Or are they just going to do what they've been doing, which is to try and run it back and see if this team can just improve from within? And if that's the answer, then no, I don't think they're going to be more competitive. I think they're going to be what they were the last couple of years, which is around a 90-loss team. I just don't see where the wins are going to come from. They need to do something. They need to add some top-line players. Outside of James Wood, I just don't see where the impact players that we thought they thought they were gonna have are right now.
Roger, Don, and wasn't it the Giants that their manager is a college manager? Talking about young managers, I think it was the Giants that their new manager last year.
Yes.
No, manager.
Yeah, I do believe it was the Giants that hired a guy who was a college manager last year, which is
that's what I thought. Yeah, the guy is like much younger than most of the players on the team.
Right.
But it's not about age. I just think it's weird. Like, we don't see guys go from managing college baseball to
the major league.
The major.
Yeah, I agree. That's what.
Oh, I got lost there. I thought you were talking about the Giants.
No, the Giants, the San Francisco Giants.
That's right.
We were talking about baseball, the Orioles and the Nationals, and that's why when you talked about that they got a new general manager, and I just remembered that about the Giants.
Just remember,
yes,
Roger, just remember, as far as Don's concerned, when dementia, he gets to meet new people every single day. Tick, tick, tock. Tick, tick, tock.
Everybody have a wonderful Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. God bless.
No shows next week. No shows the following week. We'll be 26 before we get back together again. And once again, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas to everybody. Frank, great job for 25, and we'll all get together next year.
Thanks,
Take care, fellas. Let Frank close it out.
Ladies and gentlemen, these programs are brought to you each and every night of the week in grateful appreciation to the men and women of the United States Armed Forces, the men and women police and fire services. When you're out there and see somebody in uniform, please let them know you know they're there. These programs are dedicated to those who've lost their lives in the line of duty. Deputy Robert Anthony Carroll, Patrolman David Curtis, Patrolman Jeffrey Kalkbap, Patrolman Jeffrey Yazowitz, Sergeant Thomas Batinger, San Diego Officer Mike Hendler, Sergeant Tom Wilson, Charlotte County Sheriff's Department, Detective Randy Bell, Detective Ricky Childers, Patrolman Charlie Condit, Tarpon Springs Police Department, Deputy Chief Mike Gunn, Philadelphia Fire Department, Lieutenant Joyce Craig Lewis, Philadelphia Fire Department, Sergeant James O'Connor, Philadelphia Police Department, Sergeant Crystal Lake, Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department, Lieutenant Mike Zerba, Newcastle County Police, Patrolman Onofo Crispin, Lakeland PD, Deputy Josh Myers, Nassau County Sheriff's Department, Captain Matt Letourneau, Philadelphia Fire Department, Captain Chris Leach, Philadelphia Fire Department, Wilmington Fire Department, Lieutenant Ardith Hope, Wilmington Fire Department, Lieutenant Jerry Ficus, Wilmington Fire Department, Chief Jimmy Ford, Wilmington Fire Department, Chief Al Hogle, Longbow Key Police Department, Deputy Mike Hargrove, Pinellas County Sheriff's Department, Trooper Chelsea Richards, Florida Highway Patrol, Trooper Joe Bullock, Florida Highway Patrol, Trooper Zachary Ben, Florida Highway Patrol, Sergeant Chris Fitzgerald, Philadelphia Police Department, Sergeant Roman Mendez, Philadelphia Police Department, Chief Corey Compantier, Buffalo Creek Fire Department, Deputy Ronnie Ronazinski, Manatee County Sheriff's Department, and Patrolman Zachary Butterfield, Bradenton Police. My brothers and sisters, though you may be 10-7 at this point in time, we'll be 10-10 at the table of the Lord sometime. Until that time, may the roads rise up to meet you. May the winds be always at your back. May the rains fall softly on your fields and the sun shine lightly on your face until we meet again. May the good Lord keep you and your family always in the palm of his hand. Good night. God bless. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.